What if the very cheese you trust to nourish your family could silently end it? Across the Atlantic, European regulators have slammed the brakes on 5 popular cheeses after uncovering links to Listeria monocytogenes, an invisible killer that strikes hardest at pregnant people, older adults, and anyone with a weakened immune system. Over the past few years, it has hospitalized hundreds and claimed dozens of lives, often without warning, often from foods that look perfectly safe. And yet here in the United States, those same cheeses still sit stacked on our grocery shelves, smiling from their packaging like nothing is wrong. How many of us unknowingly carry this risk home, grating it over pasta and tucking it into our children's sandwiches? How many trust labels more than reality? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we're pulling back the curtain on 5 cheeses the European Union restricts for Listeria Risk, but that American stores are still quietly selling. Don't panic just yet, because at the end of each section we'll show you the safer alternatives that won't gamble with your life. Number 1. Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's loves to wrap itself in whimsy, like a boutique daydream slipped between the frozen aisles. Employees in Hawaiian shirts, hand-scribbled chalkboards, and cheese blocks dressed like they've just come back from a Parisian honeymoon. But peel back that cheerful paper wrapping, and what you find isn't charm. It's a roulette wheel spinning with Listeria spores. Just this past summer, the company yanked Face Rock Creamery's Vampire Slayer garlic cheddar cheese curds off shelves in Northern California and Northern Nevada after routine testing found potential contamination with Listeria monocytogenes, a bacteria that hits pregnant people, immunocompromised shoppers, and older adults like a freight train. No illnesses were reported yet, but the warning landed like a thunderclap because Listeria is the kind of microscopic hitman that doesn't need a crowd. It only needs one bite. For retirees stretching their last grocery dollars, finding out their treat-yourself cheese curds might be quietly plotting against their immune system is the kind of plot twist that makes you check your fridge like it's a crime scene. And here's where it curdles even further. This wasn't some one-off fluke. Trader Joe's was also entangled in the massive Rizzo Lopez cheese recall, which blanketed the country in fear earlier this year after dozens of people across 11 states fell ill and several died. Cotija, queso fresco, panela. Names that should conjure backyard fiestas instead became headlines on FDA bulletins like wanted posters. Federal inspectors found that Rizzo Lopez plants were operating like biological booby traps. Rusted beams dripping condensation into milk vats, flakes of ceiling paint floating like confetti in curdling cream, and equipment crusted with dairy. Residue so ancient it could probably qualify for Medicare. Yet Trader Joe's kept signing purchase orders like a gambler doubling down on a losing hand, even as whistleblowers claimed corporate managers buried safety alerts to protect supplier relationships. That's corporate code for friendship bracelets mattered more than grandma's heartbeat. And let's not pretend this is a brand caught off guard. Former employees leaked internal memos revealing how Trader Joe's routinely delays public recall notices, waiting until social media erupts to finally acknowledge problems. One food safety lawyer quipped, "They treat recalls like Easter eggs, hidden until someone finds them." While shoppers unknowingly spooned tainted ricotta onto toast, Trader Joe's legal team was busy polishing their euphemisms, labeling it an abundance of caution, like they were offering chamomile tea instead of damage control. That kind of linguistic yoga doesn't just insult people's intelligence, it gambles with their lives. Even the ethical halo they wear like a flower crown has wilted. Watchdog reports have traced some of Trader Joe's dairy supply to mega factories, where cows are crammed shoulder to shoulder in manure-slick pens, injected with hormones until their bones crack, while newborn calves are dragged away within hours and left bawling in metal cages. That milk is funneled straight into Trader Joe's so-called European-style cheese. Calling it handcrafted is like calling a demolition derby delicate choreography just because someone waved a checkered flag. And while we're at it, their cheeses aren't just biologically reckless, they're nutritional landmines. Some of their popular wedges pack over 500 milligrams of sodium and 7 grams of saturated fat per ounce, ticking away like yellow time bombs aimed at seniors already juggling high blood pressure and tight medication budgets. Public health experts have flagged Trader Joe's for disguising ultra-processed cheese under romantic-sounding private labels, selling industrial shortcuts as if they were fairy tale luxuries. It's the dairy version of putting pearls on a mousetrap and then handing it to your grandmother with a wink. At the end of the day, Trader Joe's hasn't been the charming village market it pretends to be. It's been a glossy mask covering a system that prized image over safety, marketing sparkle over medical reality, and gambled with the trust of older, low-income Americans who believed the smile on the label. The cheese looked enchanting. The betrayal was industrial. If you want dairy that won't require a side of paramedics, look to Cowgirl Creamery, Jasper Hill Farm, Cypress Grove, Laura Chanel, and Beecher's Handmade Cheese. Smaller American producers that treat safety like a duty, not a marketing prop, and won't smuggle danger in under a cute chalkboard sign. Number 2. Kraft Heinz. Walk into any discount grocery aisle and you'll see Kraft Heinz glowing like a neon promise from the past. Those square orange slices stacked in plastic like edible nostalgia tokens, whispering of simpler times when lunch was cheap and safe. But that warm glow is just stage lighting. Behind the curtain, the machinery is coughing up something far uglier. Not long ago, Kraft Heinz was forced to pull more than 83,000 cases of Kraft Singles American cheese off shelves because their machines were quietly slipping sharp plastic film into the slices like concealed razor wire. The company called it a minor packaging hiccup, the same tone you'd use for a missing ketchup packet, while emergency rooms were quietly treating seniors who almost suffocated on what was supposed to be a soft, harmless bite. The FDA had to slam it with a Class 2 recall while stores ripped it off shelves faster than a Vegas casino clears a broken slot machine. It's hard to stretch your Social Security check when every bite feels like spinning the chamber of a revolver, and that was just the appetizer. Kraft's 100% Parmesan was once exposed for containing nearly 9% cellulose. Yes, wood pulp. Turning pasta night into something closer to sawdust confetti. Imagine scraping together your last grocery dollars only to find out you've been sprinkling lumber particles on your spaghetti like you're seasoning a DIY project. And if that didn't splinter your trust, FDA inspectors found Kraft plants riddled with puddles of stagnant water, ceilings crawling with mold, and rusted pipes dripping mystery condensation straight into open cheese vats while rodent droppings decorated the floor like grotesque sprinkles. Workers who dared to report it said they were threatened with firing, as if food safety itself were some kind of forbidden contraband. It's like watching the fire alarm go off while management debates if flames count as warm lighting. But the rot runs deeper than factory walls. Investigations linked Kraft's milk to colossal industrial dairies where cows are packed so tight they can barely move, electroshock to keep producing until they collapse, and calves are yanked away within hours to die cold and starving so their mother's milk can keep the conveyor belts running. It's like a grim dairy Hunger Games, except the losers end up between 2 slices of Wonder Bread. And while these horrors churned quietly in the background, Kraft still floods discount aisles with its beloved singles, each slice loaded with roughly 300 milligrams of salt and 4 grams of saturated fat. Tiny yellow time bombs marketed as cozy nostalgia for older Americans already juggling high blood pressure and tight wallets. Public health experts have repeatedly flagged Kraft's cheese as one of the most deceptively marketed ultra-processed foods in the country, yet it keeps getting stacked into shopping carts like a Trojan horse made of cholesterol. And here's the bitter punchline. Behind the smiling commercials and the patriotic jingles, Kraft Heinz operates like a calculator that values profit above breath itself, quietly accepting that some people will choke or die as long as the quarterly curve keeps grinning. For Americans living on fixed incomes, that's not just risky. That's betrayal shrink-wrapped and sold as comfort. If you want to eat without needing a medical disclaimer, steer your cart toward brands still run by humans instead of spreadsheets. Tillamook, Cabot Creamery, Belgioioso, Organic Valley, Vermont Creamery, Roth Cheese, and even Point Reyes Farmstead Cheese, all known for stricter sanitation, humane dairy practices, and labeling that won't secretly slip you sawdust. Because the only thing scarier than what's inside Kraft's cheese is how easily they expect you to swallow it. Number 3. Walmart/Sam's Club. Walmart and its warehouse twin, Sam's Club, love to parade themselves as the blue-vested guardians of everyday low prices, smiling down from their banners like benevolent giants of the bargain aisle. But scrape off those cheery rollback stickers, and what you see is less a marketplace and more a roulette wheel spinning with bacteria. Just weeks ago, the Middlefield Original Cheese Co-op pulled back the curtain on a nightmare. Its Ohio plant had churned out multiple varieties: organic Gouda, colored yellow cheddar loaves and shreds, Swiss mozzarella provolone blends, pepper jack, Monterey Jack, and even Sunrise Creamery's dilly pickle Monterey Jack with pickles that tested positive for Listeria monocytogenes. These cheeses had already spread like spores through Walmart and Sam's Club pipelines across Ohio, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Texas before anyone hit the brakes. Inspectors didn't just find the pathogen in finished cheese. They found it on the cutting equipment itself, like fingerprints at a crime scene. For older Americans whose immune systems can wobble like loose porch steps, every slice suddenly felt like a dare. And the most chilling part? This isn't a one-off pothole. It's a pattern carved into the pavement. Walmart's cheese operations have danced with scandal for years, from great value Parmesan once accused of hiding wood pulp filler, to microwavable mac and cheese cups allegedly mislabeled as real cheddar while stuffed with whey and palm oil. Courts are still chewing through lawsuits claiming its great value products boasted no artificial preservatives, even as they quietly smuggled industrial citric acid into the mix. It's marketing sleight of hand, like a used car salesman promising original parts, while the mufflers held on with duct tape. And while Walmart's lawyers quibble over semantics, older Americans with fixed incomes are left wondering if real cheese now just means real creative fiction. Meanwhile, the supply chain itself reads like a horror script. Internal audits have shown repeated refrigeration failures, with pallets of cheese baking at unsafe temperatures for days, essentially turning warehouses into coast-to-coast petri dishes. FDA inspectors once found raw chicken stacked inches from open dairy crates, as if cross-contamination were a competitive sport. Former logistics staff have described managers rushing spoiled blocks back onto trucks with new expiration stickers, calling it rotation, as if wordplay could sterilize bacteria. Others said gloves were considered too expensive for the volume moved, so bare hands did the job. Proof that when profit drives the truck, hygiene rides in the trunk. And beyond the cold steel of the factories, the ethical rot seeps out into the soil itself. Watchdog groups have tied several of Walmart's cheese suppliers to industrial mega dairies, where cows stand shoulder to shoulder in concrete pens, beaten or shocked when they collapse, while manure lagoons the size of football fields leach into local groundwater. Communities nearby have reported asthma spikes and poisoned wells, collateral damage quietly folded into Walmart's cost structure. Like ghost towns underwriting cheap mozzarella, it's the dark math behind rollback pricing. For every dollar saved, a cow bleeds and a town chokes. Yet somehow the company still markets these cheeses to older and low-income Americans as budget-friendly staples, even though a single serving of their processed blends can load over 600 milligrams of sodium and 8 grams of saturated fat. Arterial landmines for people already juggling blood pressure meds and coupon clippers. Public health researchers have called Walmart's private label dairy nutritional booby traps dressed as savings, yet the stores keep stacking family-sized blocks on towering end caps like trophies from a game of corporate chicken. The logic is simple. Cities, flood the shelves, move the product, and settle the lawsuits later. Because in Walmart's ledger, lawsuits are just another overhead expense like light bulbs or floor wax. For the millions of older Americans living on razor-thin budgets, this isn't about cheese. It's about trust, and Walmart has shredded that trust like cheddar in a malfunctioning grinder. What they market as affordable may well cost you your health, your peace of mind, and your last good year. If you want cheese that won't turn your grocery run into Russian roulette, turn instead to Marin French Cheese Cassio, Rogue Creamery, Old Croc, Deer Creek Cheese, Widmer's Cheese Cellars, or Shelburne Farms. Regional producers with rigorous testing, ethical dairy sourcing, and transparent supply chains that won't gamble your life just to save a nickel. Number 4. Costco/Kirkland Signature. Costco sells the fantasy that safety comes in bulk, that buying cheese the size of cinder blocks somehow makes it cleaner, purer, safer, like sheer volume could sterilize greed. But inside those mega packs of Kirkland, signature cheeses lurk something far less wholesome, a history of contamination, hidden cruelty, and corporate math that treats risk like a rounding error. One of the clearest wake-up calls came when Costco had to pull Rizzo Lopez dairy products, including cotija, sour cream, and yogurt, from its delis after genetic testing linked them to a deadly Listeria outbreak. public health officials confirmed over 24 illnesses and at least 2 deaths, mostly among pregnant women, older adults, and immunocompromised shoppers. Costco scrubbed its service counters clean, posted polite notices online, and offered refunds. While many customers only learned the truth from local TV anchors grimly reciting the symptoms of listeriosis. To the families who had already eaten it, that wasn't customer service. It was an obituary with a receipt, and that was far from their only flirtation with disaster. In another debacle, Costco recalled 32-ounce packs of Tillamook Monterey Jack and Colby Jack after sharp gray-black plastic fragments were discovered inside the slices like industrial shrapnel. Customers were told there was minimal risk if they had eaten it, which is a corporate way of saying if you swallowed debris, just cross your fingers. Costco has also been repeatedly caught up in recalls of ready-to-eat sandwich boxes and snack packs after listeria was detected, with over 10 hospitalizations linked to one Fresh and Ready Foods cluster alone in California and Nevada. Critics warn that Costco's model, massive volume, sprawling supply chains, and heavy reliance on third-party manufacturers, amplifies any contamination into a regional catastrophe. Their legendary scale, once marketed as strength, has quietly become their greatest liability. When something slips, it doesn't stumble. It stampedes. Even the so-called economics behind this empire carry a stench. Former warehouse workers have described refrigeration failures where cheese sat sweating at room temperature for hours, only to be shoved back into coolers and reshelved because the shrink loss would be worse than the risk. Others describe moldy wheels discreetly rewrapped, expiration dates blasted off with sticker guns, and managers muttering, "Move the product before it starts stinking." And behind the industrial steel doors where their milk comes from, the picture grows darker. Animal welfare groups have traced Costco's dairy to mega farms where cows are jammed in concrete pens, shocked when they collapse from exhaustion and left standing in ankle-deep waste while manure lagoons seep into nearby drinking water. Costco talks about quality sourcing the way a magician talks about sawing women in half, cheerfully while hoping no one checks backstage, and the nutritional math isn't much prettier. Many Kirkland signature cheeses pack over 700 milligrams of sodium and 9 grams of saturated fat per serving, which public health researchers have dubbed cardiac grenades for older Americans. Yet Costco markets them in family-sized blocks that could double as gym weights, daring low-income retirees to overdose on salt and fat just to stretch their Social Security checks. It's the kind of cynical marketing sleight of hand that sells risk as thrift, quietly gambling that most people won't do the math until they're in the ER waiting room. What makes it all sting even more is how Costco cloaks this system in the illusion of wholesomeness. Clean aisles, smiling greeters, bulk-sized bargains whispering smart choice into your cart. But behind that theater of abundance, the calculus is cold. Move product fast, clean up later, and treat human lives as just another operational variable. Costco has managed to turn feeding families into a competitive sport of corner cutting, and in the process, it has fed its customers risk, shrink-wrapped in the language of value. If you want cheese that won't play Russian roulette with your health, turn instead to Sprout Creek Farm, Carr Valley Cheese, Fiscalini Cheese Company Nicasio Valley Cheese, Beecher's Flagship Reserve, not their basic line, and Pleasant Ridge Reserve. Smaller producers that prize microbial testing, humane treatment, and honest labeling over corporate gymnastics, and won't turn your fridge into a crime scene disguised as a bargain. Number 5. Boar's Head. Boar's Head struts through the grocery world like it owns the place. Polished marble deli counters, gold foil labels that glimmer like they were printed on stock certificates, and price tags that whisper exclusive like a country club handshake. But crack that shimmering shell, and what spills out isn't elegance, it's rot. The brand's mask of refinement crumbled in mid-2024 when its Jarratt, Virginia plant became ground zero for one of the deadliest Listeria monocytogenes outbreaks in recent U.S. history. Investigators linked the outbreak to liverwurst and other deli meats, and what began as a single sample flagged by Maryland health officials snowballed into a recall of over 7 million pounds of meat across nearly 20 states. By the time the CDC issued its final tally, at least 60 people had been hospitalized and 10 were dead. Victims of bacteria lurking inside products sold alongside Boar's Head's prized cheeses, each slice disguised as luxury while quietly playing Russian roulette with vulnerable customers' lives. And if you think this was an unlucky one-off, the inspection reports read like horror novels. The Gerat plant wasn't just sloppy, it was apocalyptic. Mold blossomed on ceilings like black lace, gnats swarmed the cutting lines, and rust bled from cracked pipes into open meat vats, while drains clogged under ankle-deep pools of filth. USDA inspectors documented live insects crawling on equipment, condensation dripping from rafters, and meat residue smeared across walls like crime scene evidence. A whistleblower. Sanitation manager said he was fired after warning executives, proving that at Boar's Head, the fastest way to lose your job is to care about keeping people alive. The plant was shuttered by September 2024, and Boar's Head quietly killed off its entire liverwurst line as if erasing the word would erase the bodies. But even as lawsuits piled up, wrongful death claims, class actions, families grieving in courtrooms, Boar's Head managed to stage yet another stumble. In July 2025, it recalled hundreds of packages of its pre-packed 8-ounce smoked Gouda in Florida because of a labeling error. No one died that time. But after you've watched a company recall 7 million pounds of meat for being laced with lethal bacteria, discovering they can't even label cheese properly feels like watching a surgeon drop the scalpel and say, oops. Regulators say the company has a long trail of citations for sanitation failures, record-keeping violations, and poor equipment maintenance, especially at the same Gerat plant. Put simply, this wasn't an accident waiting to happen. It was an inevitability waiting to be exposed. And while the bacterial roulette spins, the ethical rot runs even deeper. Watchdog groups have traced their dairy supply to massive factory farms where cows are packed in dark sheds, beaten when they falter, and milked until their bones fracture. While newborn calves are dragged away and left crying in metal cages until they starve. All of it is lacquered over with marketing words like artisan and premium, turning Boar's Head's cheese boards into gilded monuments of suffering. Meanwhile, the product itself carries nutritional daggers. A single slice of Boar's Head, sharp cheddar, packs over 500 milligrams of sodium and 7 grams of saturated fat, while the towering slabs at the deli counter often double that. Arterial landmines disguised as indulgence. Public health experts have called Boar's Head a luxury costume for ultra-processed junk, because under the gold script and marble staging lies the same emulsifiers, preservatives, and additives you'd find in bargain bin cheese, just with better fonts. Boar's Head wants to be the crown jewel of the deli, but it has become the cautionary tale, proof that prestige can be a poison when it blinds you to what you're actually eating. Behind the glittering counters and fake aristocracy is a machine that bullies workers, buries recalls, and sells danger wrapped in gold. For older Americans carefully saving up for something special, Boar's Head has turned trust into a luxury they can't afford to lose, and yet they lose it anyway, one contaminated slice at a time. If you want cheese without the side order of despair, turn instead to Kenny's Farmhouse Cheese, Meadow Creek Dairy, Hook's Cheese Company, Cypress Point Creamery, Uplands Cheese, and Cato Corner Farm. Smaller U.S. producers with strict sanitation oversight, ethical treatment of animals, and products that won't send you to the ER wearing a tuxedo of regret. And so here we are. Standing at the edge of a supermarket empire that sells comfort in bulk but hides betrayal by the pound. The shelves may look bright, the packaging may gleam, but behind every special offer can lurk a silent predator waiting to strike the people least able to fight back. Older Americans on fixed incomes who walk these aisles trusting that the food on the shelf has been chosen with care. Not shuffled like poker chips in a game of profit. This video has not been about fear. It has been about awakening, about seeing how powerful corporations gamble with public safety while selling us nostalgia, how they wrap risk in smiling logos, and how that gamble always lands hardest on those already standing on shaky ground. If this investigation has stirred something in you, if it made you question what hides behind the bright lights of the dairy aisle, then don't walk away from that feeling. Harness it, stay alert, and stay connected with us as we keep pulling back the curtain on the food system's darkest secrets. Click subscribe, join this community, and let's make sure no more lives are quietly gambled away for the sake of a discount.
Thank you for watching today's video all the way through. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay updated to our latest daily videos. Now feel free to check out other feature videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.